watching WBBZ-TV, your hometown Me TV station, Springville, Buffalo.
Welcome to the Daily Buzz 716. I'm Penny Wolfgang. When a high-profile person finds themselves in need of a good attorney, odds are that our guest today is near the top of their list of people to call. Paul Cambria has made a diverse and colorful career as a defense lawyer to many prominent celebrities and is considered one of the nation's best at what he does. Today we'll hear some of his stories about his career, and a bit later in the show we will meet a chef from the Seneca Resort and Casino who's going to give us a sample of top dishes, yay, available at their brand new restaurant. We're so excited about that. We're terrible. But anyway, okay, ladies, before we get to any of that, what do we think, what are we going to talk about today? What is on our mind and what's in the news and what do we think we should talk about? I know. Mercedes?
Yes, this week I had the honor of being in Lockport High School for the organization that I founded called For Our Daughters.
You have to show us your t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, it says "The silence ends with me."
All right.
And how does that relate?
Well, our mission is to educate young women on how to break down communication barriers and advocate for their own health and wellness. So we made a vow at For Our Daughters. The old silence surrounded around knowing your family history and speaking up for yourself, those days are over. So we made a vow that the silence ends with me.
Amazing.
It's a good t-shirt.
Yeah. So we got to spend, the Zumba part is going on today and tomorrow, but the last 2 days, that's where I've been. And Lockport High has a high population of young women, so we reached over 500 young women within a 48-hour
Oh my gosh,
span.
500 girls.
Yeah. So we're almost done. We have one more school, but so far we've reached over 1,100 young women.
Total.
Oh, that is a great accomplishment.
Yeah. So we have fun.
Yeah, we're proud of you.
And this is the organization you founded.
Yes.
This is your baby.
Yeah, yes, this is my baby.
You rock. You're so cool.
Yeah. So it's always a good time. Always a good time.
And it's very, very worthwhile.
Yeah.
So we were talking before, and we were reading all the stories about the downtown development and the apartments and the buildings and the lofts that's going on, and in a good way, in a good sense. And everybody is talking about the Renaissance.
No more empty buildings
about
in Buffalo.
the Renaissance going on downtown, but in Buffalo. But on the other hand, as we were talking before, a lot of people are upset or complaining or recommending that the idea that all of the buildings, the lofts, the apartments are high-end, high-rent, and too costly for lower and middle class people, and the point was, what's going to happen? Where are they going to live? And are we forcing them out to, I don't know where, to live somewhere else?
Do you ever
and
feel
is
like,
it fair or is it unfair?
I think it's clear that gentrification is definitely happening within the downtown Buffalo area. And because you can see it when it comes to the housing that's happening, like even now with the income-based housing that was once there is no longer there.
That's what they were saying.
A lot of the people are being forced out and looking for other income-based housing. And so when it comes to building the downtown medical quarters, what we are happy to see, it brings about questioning what does, what's next for the community. For example, within the fruit belt community. Big changes. Yeah. And then the issues become with parking. So now they have to have their own permits to park on their street because people are looking for parking within those areas. So I think, it's great to see that now the homes and the areas are now being filled in life downtown, but then it also brings in a question of the people who actually live within those areas too.
So can I ask you ladies a question? Do you ever feel like, darn it, we're just never going to make everybody happy? I mean,
no, it's not so much about making people happy. It's about what
this fabulous Renaissance.
But you can't push out the people that have been there. You can't. I mean, that's the part that seems unfair. I live in the fruit belt, and I've seen the changes that have happened. So it looks amazing.
If someone owns a house and wants to sell that house, you're not why shouldn't they be able to sell that house? Instead, they have to say, well, I'm going to push someone out, or if I own this building, I'm going to sell this building. I'm pushing someone out.
Well, I think the way they're going about it, I think it's different. And I'm going to say it's different because we could speak back to the Fruit Belt area. Not only are the people, it's not like you're being pushed out, it's kind of like you're not going to have a choice.
Yeah, no choice.
Based on the options that they're presenting to you.
Okay, so if someone owns a property, then is it your thought that, so say I own a property and I have people renting and I sell this property, that as the person selling the property, I should be giving the folks who live there some sort of power to decide what happens next once it's sold?
It's more than just one property, though.
No, I know.
It's more than just one property.
Right. What you think, Judge?
No, well, I don't think that's the issue of selling the home. I
Right.
think it's when they're built. It's the building that's going on. It's when they're building
And you're pushing
new homes,
yeah.
new apartments. And they're saying they're all very high. They're very
Right.
high priced.
Yeah.
They're high end, and people won't be able to afford them. And where are they going to go? The
Yeah.
people
So
that
only a certain class can live in that area
on
because
the other
you can no
hand,
longer afford it.
what Kim is saying, I mean, is like, isn't this a free economy? And isn't
Yeah.
this a question of supply and demand?
And
isn't
with the
this a
supply and
question
demand-
of we're trying to build up the area for new people coming and
But if building
people
means
paying
pushing people out.
people
But
paying
you know, it's-
taxes and people adding to the community, adding to the tax base, adding to
Are
the
we pushing people out when we
economy?
had empty building after empty building? Every single corner in downtown Buffalo was an empty building. The homes,
Dilapidated.
the empty, dilapidated homes in the Fruit Belt. When you'd go, there are these auctions every year in the city, and they are giving away these empty homes, and people are begging them to tear down these eyesores, these havens for where
No,
people are selling drugs.
we're not knocking that. The thing is,
But
the
that
only
goes
thing we're
hand in
saying,
hand.
no, absolutely, we're not saying that. Oh no, we don't want the building, because I'm happy to see downtown come alive. You know, I think we have to be considerate of those
Right.
also that are still
it's-
there.
And I don't think it's just the Fruit Belt that we're
Oh
talking
yes,
about.
not just the Fruit Belt.
Is it?
That's just one area.
It's just one
proper.
area.
You
But-
brought up, Penny brought up supply and demand, right?
And it's not even just
Supply and
happening here in
demand.
Buffalo. It's happening also in Brooklyn.
It's finally happening.
You know,
Of course.
you can see
Finally
that in
happening
Brooklyn,
in
you know,
Buffalo.
but
Yes.
it's the
Finally.
same scenario of what's happening.
But then Judge Penny talks about
Yeah, you know?
Judge Penny talks about supply and demand,
Yes.
right? So now we've got this rush of apartments and lofts that are being built, and they are more
for
expensive,
people that
right?
are coming to work
And
In a
from
medical-
out of town in the medical
if
community.
it's more,
Yes.
but if they're building apartment after apartment and it's all at this level, if the supply isn't there, if the demand isn't there for the supply, it will force those rents down. So at some
And if
point
is
it will
there,
level
shouldn't-
off.
And if it is there, shouldn't we be taking advantage of it? Because it's a good thing for all of us if people are going to come and pay. And so I guess the suggestion is maybe that there should be some housing that people can afford maybe elsewhere or subsidized by the government or a different kind of housing, but not to prevent or stop the building that's going on.
I heard suggestions that the building, all of the new buildings, that there should be a stipulation that a percentage, an actual numerical percentage of the apartments be kept at a particular price level, which makes me think of rent control. And I don't
Yes.
know that that works either.
That came up too. Because there's no, I mean, look at New York City, but you and I are always talking about Brooklyn and New York, all the issues of rent control over the years, and people had rent controlled homes, and then they, little by little, made them into condos, took them away, and the economy wouldn't support it.
Yeah. And I think once not even just the economy, but once the city changes and shifts, then, you know, the demand of people coming in, looking for housing, looking for apartments, looking for activities, looking for the life, you know, happens. But all I'm saying is, you know, we have to consider the people that are still there.
It's kind of a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah,
you know, it's like,
it is.
like here's the good news and here's the bad news,
Yeah.
and there has to be some kind of a balance.
Yes,
right.
that's it.
That's probably
word.
the answer. There has to be
Balance.
some kind of a balance. We have so much to talk about. We have so many wonderful guests, and we're so excited about talking to Paul Cambria when we come back after this short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. never going to come here again. Okay, welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. Everyone in Western New York knows the name Paul Cambria and knows of his involvement with some of the most prominent cases, not only here, but across the nation. Well, here he is with us today to share some of the stories of his life and career. Welcome, Paul.
Well, thank
Welcome,
you.
Mr.
It's
Cambria.
nice to have you
When you
here.
were a child, can you remember back that far?
I can remember that.
Did you remember, I can say that, Jim, because we're friends. Did you watch Perry Mason?
I did.
And did you say, I want to do that, that's what I want to do
Actually,
with my life?
that's a true story.
I made it up.
Back in those days, we had like 3 channels. And so my father had control of the television. We didn't even have a remote. And he would have Perry Mason on all the time. We'd all watch it as a family. And it really did. You know, I never expressed it because it was such a high goal that I thought, pie in the sky deal. But yeah, that was the influence.
That's where it all started.
That's where it all
it.
started. All right, so then how did you get from being a Buffalo lawyer to involved with big cases in all the way across the country? 'Cause
Well, I
that's,
think
that's unusual.
Someone that you and I have in common, which was Harold Price Farrington.
Yes, yes.
Who was a very prominent lawyer in Buffalo. He passed away last year, but he was a very prominent lawyer in Buffalo. And I worked for him, as you did, before I did. And he really had a number of national clients. And I was his early protege and so on, and then eventually just established my own reputation. So that's what happened.
But he had clients in California.
He had
That's, I
clients
think,
all
how-
over the country.
Yeah, so-
He was a very prominent guy, great guy. In fact, he used to do, when he was in law school, he did live commercials because they were live in those days on these local stations for Klein Hands and all these other places.
Well,
He was a
I
great
was
guy.
just a gopher. All I did was like carry his briefcase, papers,
Oh.
and, yes, and go to
I did
court.
that too.
And go to court and ask and make excuses. Oh, Mr. Farrington's
Yeah,
not here. He's sick.
busy.
He's away. He's this.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that was my
I
whole
did
job.
that too.
That was my whole career.
Telling secrets.
So I am like so wanting to talk to you about Larry Flynt.
Oh.
And as it turns out, these ladies on either side, they didn't know who he was.
Really?
That was
I did.
scary.
When I
So
looked it up,
you
that's when
gotta
I
you gotta bring them in the loop.
See, I just turned 30 today, so.
Oh, well, that's.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
I think this watch is through. Well, Larry is a very controversial sort of person. We met him years and years ago. He was charged with an obscenity violation. He had a publication called Hustler. But he's so dynamic that since that time, he has all these cable and satellite stations. He has like 1,700 employees. He has several casinos that he owns. I mean, he's branched out all over the world. And where he really became infamous, if you will, is when he was shot at a trial that we were trying in Lawrenceville, Georgia, Harold Farringer and I. And they shot our co-counsel, shot him actually right in front of me. There's one on the screen there.
Wow.
And
Why?
I was on the phone.
Why?
And well, they
God.
shot him.
Why?
He had the first interracial centerfold. He had a black fellow and a white woman, and this white supremacist stalked him and shot him because he had an interracial centerfold. And it was, it was a pretty traumatic time. I happened to be on the phone, and they were coming across the square from lunch. And the next thing I hear, pow, 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 and they're down on the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
And I remember running up to our lawyer, and he was holding his arm and rolling around. I thought he was shot in the arm, but it had gone all the way through him.
Wow.
And Flint was shot in the abdomen, and that's what paralyzed his legs. And he was just, wide open. And away we went to the hospital, and at the time, Carter was president. Flint was friendly with Carter's sister, who was an evangelist preacher, and she was trying to convert him. And so President Carter's wife showed up at the hospital, and that night, what we had witnessed was a shooting, number one, the phone ringing off the hook. At one point, I picked the phone up and said, "This is Walter Cronkite." Hello. Hi, Walter.
very funny.
This is Paul. And she then showed up, And the next thing you know, we're in a prayer vigil in a hospital. And I'm
my
there.
God.
We're with the president's sister in a prayer vigil. Where could this happen? You know,
And so at any point during that day, did you say, maybe it's time for a career change?
Yeah.
I'm sure this was like, this is the career
never.
for me.
I think it was
I'm sure he was
dig it
convinced in that moment.
Did you ever know it was dangerous?
Yeah.
Was it dangerous
We
being
figured out it was
that
dangerous.
Wow.
But no, we didn't. And then a year and a half later, after he had recovered, we had another trial. Now he's in a wheelchair. And we were in Atlanta, Georgia. And we tried that case, Harold and I, with bulletproof vests on.
Well,
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's the lesson.
crazy?
That was interesting.
But you know what was interesting about the whole Larry Flynt issue is that it was involving quote unquote pornography
Yeah.
and how that has changed how the public view the
Totally.
law. I don't know
Yeah.
about if the law has changed.
No, the law is the
about-
same,
But
it's
from
the
those
view
days.
of the public has changed, especially with computers.
Oh,
People
yeah.
can access
Oh,
this
yeah.
material. But these days, he's controversial because he goes after politicians who he thinks are hypocrites. So when Clinton was being trying to be impeached and so on, Larry put out a reward for any dirt, if you will, on any other politician, Republican politician, to show that they were being hypocrites. And lo and behold, the Speaker of the House at that time had some marital affair going on. Flynt uncovered it. The Speaker resigned, and the heat was off of Clinton for the impeachment. I mean, a lot of crazy things have happened with Larry.
And as you have, I feel like you have like a wealth of knowledge to the point where you should be writing a book on these stories.
Yeah, everybody says it.
Because it's so entertaining.
Well, if you think about it, over the years, I've represented Marilyn Manson. Of course, everybody knows we had a lot of the hockey stars lately, Patrick Kane, some of the others. We've had I've been to the United States Supreme Court several times. I mean, there aren't very many lawyers who've ever argued before the U.S. Supreme Court, and I was lucky enough to do it 3 times. So we've had a lot of great things happen over the years.
So we're definitely going to see that book. Is that what you're trying to tell us? And,
So when you're ready, you can come back on the show.
Can judges that you've appeared in front of be in the book?
You were one of them. I tried.
Oh, hey, I have a question
saw
for
that
you, Paul.
angle coming. I saw that angle
for you,
coming.
Paul. Who's your favorite judge?
And I told them to ask.
That's right.
I
Well,
said,
you
gotta ask.
never have
All right,
one
no.
favorite
Oh,
judge. If you're smart,
Good
you never have
answer.
one
Okay.
Good
favorite
answer.
judge.
I think it's time to go to commercial on that.
Several.
We will. We're going to come back and we're going to ask some better questions when we come back. So please stay with us after this short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. We are continuing our conversation with well-known attorney Paul Cambria, the headline-making attorney who splits his time between Buffalo and California, Los Angeles. And we were just, before the break, you were about to tell us about the headline making. I just said you're a headline making lawyer, so we have to kind of prove it to our
That's your problem.
because they don't just take my word for it when I say this stuff, you know. So we have lately been reading about your cases, particularly sports figures. For some reason, there's been a lot of publicity about cases involving our local sports figures.
Yeah, they're targets. Patrick Kane and Evander Kane. I represent both of them. They're easy targets. We see this. I actually have others around the country, professional sports stars who I represent. And, they're vulnerable to accusations. And they're difficult to defend because they get so much publicity. Everybody is microscopically discussing every little detail of the case. You don't usually get that in any other case. And so they're much harder to defend, but in those situations, they both came out perfect.
When you speak about, it being hard to defend, my question is, what would you say is the biggest challenge being a criminal lawyer?
You know, it's funny.
Defense lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Because there's prosecutors too.
yeah, criminal lawyer.
Correction.
We didn't want to bring up that part.
The toughest part is, if you think about it, you know, we always say this thing, oh, everybody's presumed to be innocent. But what's the first thing you do when you see someone on television standing in front of a judge? You say, what did they do? All right? Well, that's kind of the opposite of a presumption of innocence. You know, that's presumption of guilt. And these days, there's so much conservative talk show situations, you know, the Rush Limbaughs, and locally the Bowerleys and Bellavillas and all these others. And it's always a matter of, you know, a very conservative view, and they're convinced that whoever's charged is guilty. And so you have to overcome that. And it's difficult, you know,
Now,
it's difficult.
How do you overcome that when someone walks in and says, I'm guilty?
I didn't.
I need your help.
Well, that's a different situation.
I did kick that puppy.
That's a good question,
Hang on.
though.
What the difference is this, that, you know, the system is set up such that many times people are overcharged. And it's always one of these, well, we'll charge them with this and it's probably going to be that. So you have that built into the system. You know, if someone comes in and says they're guilty, the question is guilty of what? Is it what they're charged with? Should it be less? Is your job just to get them the best result possible, or is it your job to have them acquitted because they should be acquitted? The proof wouldn't sustain a conviction. So it's kind of complicated. It isn't really a black and white
I think
situation.
sometimes we forget that guilty folks are supposed to have a lawyer as well.
Well, everybody is supposed to have
You know,
a lawyer. I
just
mean, you
because
know,
you're guilty
we know
doesn't mean
that.
you don't have a defense.
But
right?
it's you know, it can be, I get a lot of this, how could you defend that person?
Yeah.
I said, well, that's
their right
because
to
what
be.
I do. Let's
the money is
assume,
green.
well, think about this for a second. When Lee Harvey Oswald shot the president, they brought him to the emergency room and the doctors tried to save his life. Well, because that's their job.
Right.
Now, here's a person who was, you know, committed the most heinous crime you could commit in shooting our president, but still a professional has to do their job. And we do the same thing.
And that's a great point that you bring out, because I never looked at it from that standpoint
neither.
at all.
Me
And
neither.
I'm really happy that you have, because I'm sure sometimes you get those kind of questions a lot in a lot of
All the time.
publicity from it, you know, saying, why would you defend
how
this
could you
person?
do that? How could you defend him? Now, there are cases, and I mean, the way I do it, I personally, I do not take animal abuse, child abuse, elderly abuse. I just can't get into those cases, and I can't feel that I can do a good job, so I just don't do them. Now, there are people in my office, I mean, there are 50 lawyers in my office, and there are people in my office who do those things. There are other lawyers who do those. I choose not to. You know, I can't put my heart into it, so I pass.
Wow.
Have things changed a lot in the practice of law since you started a little while ago?
Yeah, well,
A few
technology.
years ago?
A
few years ago?
A little while
Yeah.
ago.
I'm
Yeah,
being
technology for
kind
sure.
because I don't want him to.
You know, technology
Be
for
mad.
sure in the courtroom. We
Yes.
have the capabilities, I mean, with DNA and so on, has really changed the world. So have emails and text messages.
Oh
I
my
can't
gosh.
tell you how many cases have turned on an email or a text message that somebody sent out, and it winds up, you know, sinking them, or in some cases helping them. So it's, yeah, things have changed for sure.
And they bring them into court as proof. They bring
no doubt.
bring in the emails, they bring
Yeah,
in the
no doubt.
text, they bring in the
And-
the Facebook, they go everything.
And
that they tell each other.
they've created some unique legal issues. For example, should a police officer be able to take your cell phone, or should they have to have specific cause to take your cell phone? Because if you think about it, your cell phone has probably more personal information in it than your home does.
Yeah, it does.
And so, you know, that's the latest thing. What's the level of scrutiny there?
And to look at the messages, do you have to sometimes go to a court and get an order
Yeah.
to look at what's on the cell phone once you've got the cell
True.
phone to get
So-
all of that. And
That is
isn't it
all
amazing
true.
to you how your clients will tell everything on Facebook and will show everything
crazy.
and will email each other?
Well, but
it's-
not only the clients,
amazing.
but the witnesses for the other
Yes,
side as
yes,
well. They'll be
yes.
going, oh, well, I did this, I did that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well,
Yep.
this makes me think, if you talk about sports figures that that are needing to have a defense, and that they're easy targets, don't you feel like sometimes they're putting themselves in the position of being an easy target?
Well, sure, of course, and that's one of the dynamics, of doing it. I see you have a picture up there now of us. Yeah, that's part of the dynamic. That's how things have changed, and what Penny says, things have changed. And the scrutiny, the media scrutiny, we never had that before. You would read something in the newspaper, but now it's tweeted out as it's happening in the courtroom.
Everybody knows.
And so it makes all the difference in the world.
Now with time, time changing, and of course you've been in this for a while now, do you feel like you will ever retire?
This ain't a while. Everybody.
Think about the history of,
I started
a short time. I'll say a while because
Calm down, ladies.
I feel
really guilty.
at the stories you're telling,
Guilty
and I'm
as
truly, I'm in awe right now. So my question is, will you ever retire?
No.
Oh,
No. You have to understand.
You would have left if you knew you were going to ask that question.
I have 6 daughters, right? The youngest is 13, the oldest 27. I'm not going anywhere. That'll be it. At the switch, they'll come in someday, and I'll be one of those, and that'll be it.
Oh my God.
Paul is a very interesting, versatile person. And speaking of versatile, is that another way of saying variety? So
Could be.
He is very, as we're going to find out shortly, has a passion for helping people and the community. And we're going to be talking about that shortly. But first, we have to take a brief break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Daily Buzz 716. Now we are continuing our conversation with Paul Cambria, and we want to turn our attention to the upcoming Variety Club Telethon that is happening this Sunday, April 2nd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And Paul is going to be hosting this event. So we are very excited because we've watched it all our lives, I'm sure, and participated, many of us participated, but we all wanted to know what your involvement, how it came about.
Well, it's been going on for 55 years. I haven't been watching it for 55 years.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't. Well, when I was a
In the
child,
cradle.
if you recall, the way it used to be, it would start at 10 o'clock on a Saturday, and then it would go over all day Sunday until 7. And there were only 3 TV stations back then, and they would sign off like at 11 o'clock or midnight. And the only thing you could watch was the telethon after that. And my mother and I used to sit there and watch and see, all the old celebrities from the old days, and some of the movie stars and so on, and the local people. The telethon gives you an opportunity to meet a lot of people whose names you hear. You see the mayor, you see the Basils, Salin from Salin's Hot, all these people that you just are names, and then all of a sudden they're all there. Plus, it's all about Children's Hospital. It's all about helping children, and I have plenty of those. And so I spent all those years with my mother and kind of had an affinity for it. When I moved to Buffalo, I helped get lawyers who are notoriously cheap to donate to the telethon. And I would make calls and so on, and then I'd go on the telethon and present the money from the lawyers. And then one year they asked me to be the honorary chair. And then after that they asked me if I would do fundraisers and so on. So we wound up doing all these fundraisers for them. Then the next thing you know, I'm on air as a co-host, and your producer, John DeShulo, was a big part of that over the years. And we, that's just the way it is. I have a motto: if you can, you should. And that really is what it's all about. What we've done with the telethon is, we're putting new face on it and so on. We moved it to the casino now. It's at the hotel event center of the casino. This year, we're going to have the Goo Goo Dolls play. And it's interesting. They contacted us and said, we're hometown people.
They're so
devoted. We want to be on.
They're so devoted to this area.
And they're going to perform in the afternoon sometime on Sunday. And then they're going to answer phones. So it's great. But all that money, goes to local charities. Nothing leaves Western New York. Most all of it, over 80%, goes to Children's Hospital. And so we're really looking forward to it. Have lots of volunteers. Joe Salin this year from the Salin Hot Dog group is our honorary chair, and he's been so helpful to us, selling little hot dogs for $1 and all that stuff.
Tell us about the children that they are.
Celebrity children.
Celebrity
Yeah.
children
Think of the
are,
word.
Yeah.
yep, they're children who have had long and successful runs at Children's Hospital. And most of them, their lives have been saved, whether they were preemies or born with cancer, spina bifida, and things like that. And this year we have Kelly and Kyle. They're there, and they have a story, and there'll be lots of videos this year showing the stories of success of all these children over the years who have been treated. I mean, this is a #1 facility. We're lucky to have it in Buffalo, and the whole community joins in on this.
You think it'll make a difference this year because of doing the new
venue?
the new building?
The new building.
I mean,
the money that we raise goes to personnel, equipment, and so on. It isn't. They have their own funding as far as the construction, and so ours really goes to treatment and the people who do the treating, and that's the heart and soul of it.
How has being involved with something like this impacted you personally?
Well, I just, we've always been a kind of a giving family. My parents were that way. Everybody was very open. I think that was all part of, I come from Fredonia. I was born and raised there, and we had that, giving, loving Italian family kind of thing going on. And, I teach my children that. They're volunteers. They'll be there. They'll be participating in the telethon on the phones and doing other charity events during the course of the year. So, like I say, if you can, you should.
Yeah.
when we think of the telethon, it's sort of synonymous in our minds with Channel 7 and with Irv.
Yeah, Irv Weinstein. Well, Channel 7 has been hosting the telethon for 54 years. It's a 55-year. There was one other station the first year. And Irv Weinstein, of course, was a big part of it. And as you know, Irv now has Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's really been debilitating. But he is still participating. I mean, I received emails from Irv yesterday. He's going to be watching the telethon because it's live streamed. He participates every year. He makes a donation, which I kid him about every year. And he used to sing "I'm a Little Teapot." You recall it would be
We do remember that.
the late great Lou
was the highlight.
Billiter, Lou Billiter, who owns Chefs. He would donate $500 for Irv to sing "I'm a Little Teapot." I would then give $500 to say, will you stop singing? Yeah, and we did this for like 15 years.
All right,
And,
now we only have a second left. I'm supposed to ask you this. Are you going to drive a car, one of your special cars there, and are you going to give away one of your special cars?
Couple of
or
things.
Describe your love of cars?
My wife Paula and I are professional drag racers.
Oh, wow.
We drag race on the circuit on the NHRA. So there you go. There's a picture on the screen now. That Dwayne Paddock helped us get that. That is a very special car built by GM called a Copo Camaro.
Yep.
And because of Dwayne's being such a large dealer, he was able to have us get that. They only made 69 of those cars, and we have 2 of them. And we race them around the country. And again, we've used that as an opportunity to raise funds because we'll get all the people from the track. We'll take the variety car that we raffle off to the track and so on. So we do a lot of that, yeah.
That's awesome.
So
But none of those will be driven to the
No,
casino.
we won't see that.
You're not going to drive
And
right to the casino?
So basically, you just want to live dangerously, no matter whether it's your career.
Might as
Is that a synopsis?
Might as well.
Living on the edge?
They say, you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
Right?
I gotta write that down.
All right, on that note, we want to thank you, Paul,
Thank
for
you.
being with us today.
My
It's
pleasure.
been so much fun and interesting, and for sharing a lot of compelling stories of your very interesting life and career, which has got a lot more to go, we understand.
Yes.
After the break, Mercedes is going to meet Nadine DeStefano. Is that you thinking? And Chef Montez from the Seneca Resorts and Casino. And they're going to show us some delicious dishes they'll be serving up at their new restaurant that has just opened. We are hopefully going to get a sample, so stay tuned anyway, please. What?
Daily Buzz 716. Joining us now on the show are Nadine DeStefano and Chef Montez from Seneca Resorts and Casinos. We have some great food here. Can we please? I love food. I love food.
Why don't we start with the salad here?
Yeah.
We have our version of the Caprese Salad, which is tomato, fresh cheese, basil. One interesting component about this salad is we get heirloom tomatoes that are grown in a greenhouse in Ontario.
Okay.
So it's part of our effort to try to get as much locally as we can.
Okay.
Then we have burrata cheese from Wisconsin. The microgreens are actually grown in Hilton, New York.
Okay, so local.
Local.
Okay.
We try to be as local as we can. And then we pair that with some grilled bread. And then the one component that every caprese has to have is basil.
Of course.
So I think we found an interesting way to introduce basil to the dishes. We have this pipette, and this is full of basil oil.
Okay.
So it's basically a puree of basil and olive oil.
Okay.
And that allows a little interaction with the guest as well. They can season their own salad with the basil oil.
I love it. I love it. Now, my husband and I went this past Saturday, and you guys just opened. I understand. When did you open?
Chef Montez is our chef at the WD Bar and Grill at Seneca Buffalo Creek Casino. So as part of the expansion that you've all heard about, that is nearly complete, the WD Bar and Grill was one of the first items to come online. So they've been open for a few weeks, and that's where all of this amazing food is from.
It is beautiful in there. My husband and I went this past weekend with some friends. Amazing.
They did an
We didn't try
job.
that. I'm trying that next time. I'm trying that next time.
Our patio is opening as well, and that's going to be a great feature. I think we have the best view of downtown Buffalo.
It is. It is beautiful.
It's a great place to get some cocktails, some appetizers. It's going to be, once the weather turns, it's going to be the place to be.
I love it.
Yes,
well,
and
look,
the
listen, it's the place to be now.
Exactly. The views you can see from inside the dining room as well as the patio. So you don't even need to go out on the patio, but when the patio is open, when the weather warms up, it'll be even better.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I wasn't looking at the view when I was there. I was looking at my steak and my salad and my crab legs, and it was so good. It was so good. So let's keep going here because
Speaking of steak, I've got a grass-fed ribeye here. This is another item that we've tried to source as locally as we can. This is from Black River Farms in Vermont.
Okay.
And it's a grilled piece of meat. We like to finish it with a little whole butter, and then we sprinkle a little Malden sea salt. I think that really enhances the flavor of the steak.
I'll take that. I want to try some of that. I want to try some of that.
Sure.
And then what do we have here as far as this dessert? Now I didn't try this dessert.
Oh, you have?
My husband got there was a layered banana.
The banana parfait, that's a favorite. Yes.
I got the cheesecake.
Cheesecake
And
is
we
great.
saw this, somebody was walking past with a dish. We saw this, so I'm like, can we take those for the kids? They loved it. Yeah. So everything was amazing, but go ahead.
I don't think you can go wrong with any of our desserts. Everything's made in-house from scratch. We make our own ice creams, gelatos, sorbets. We're making our own pudding, all the cakes, cheesecakes, everything is made from scratch. So when you do the time to do things from scratch, it's always going to be better.
Yeah. Now the ladies are salivating over there, and they're jealous. So ladies, I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be nice and not try.
Excuse me. I heard the chef say that there was this little squeezy thing for interaction with the food.
The basil oil pipe.
So chef, I gotta tell you, I don't need this squeezy thing to interact with the food. This is what I need to interact with the food. Okay. I'm officially interacting.
Sounds good.
Okay, so what are you doing with that?
This is a dessert we finished tableside. So we have graham cracker cake, we have marshmallows that we make in-house, toasted marshmallows and a chocolate ganache. And then we just toast the s'more.
Oh my God.
Seriously?
Oh my
Seriously.
God.
Do you let the folks at the table have at it with that flame, or
I don't think we'd want to.
trust me with that flame?
We
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
want to
trust
unleash
him
them
with
with the
that flame.
flame.
No fire?
We have our skilled servers and chefs take care of this.
Oh, look at Adriana. She's like, wait a minute, is that chocolate?
Is there more information?
Oh,
that you
it
would like?
is. It is her birthday. Oh,
Yes,
no.
we're really excited that the WD Bar and Grill is up and running. We're actually even more excited that we're revamping the menu just a few weeks in. We've listened to our customers.
Okay.
As they've been coming in, they have some suggestions about some more exciting options. We've taken that to note, and so we're excited about revamping the menu. A WD Bar and Grill will also be starting a Mother's Day brunch menu. Starting around May 7th, in mid-May. And you can check out more information on that at SenecaBuffaloCreekCasino.com, so keep checking our website for details.
Okay.
And also as part of the expansion, a lot more things will be coming online. We'll be having our grand opening celebration at Seneca Buffalo Creek the weekend of May 5th. So there'll be a high limit area, there'll be a non-smoking area, there's the new Below Bar, WD Bar and Grill, grand staircase, massive video wall as you enter into the entrance now. And there's retail that's going to be there as well, high-end retail, that Michael Kors, for example, as well as Buffalo merchandise.
Judge Minnie's going.
She got real excited.
That'll be in our Exit 6 retail store. Buffalo Savers has been completely revamped, and that is now the Creek and the Creek Stop, which is the Creek will be our casual dining, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's open now as well. And the Creek Stop is more the grab-and-go 24-hour casual dining as well.
Wow.
Grab and go.
A lot going on, a lot coming, a lot to come, a lot to get excited about.
Yes, keep checking the website.
This is like really good.
So,
Oh my gosh. What is that? Well, hold on. What is this?
Oh my gosh,
This
what's happening to that dessert?
This is a white chocolate ganache that we finish it with to make it a nice gooey.
Okay, so
This is mine. No, this is mine. This is mine.
It's
Oh my
my
God,
birthday.
I'm having a heart attack.
I'll
No,
take this.
no, go
Where you
away.
going, Karen?
No, you go away. I'm gonna fight you. I will cut you.
And when did you say the patio opens? When did you say?
As the weather gets a little warmer, we do have fire pits out there.
So it's ready now. We're just waiting
It's
for the
ready
weather
now.
to
I mean,
break.
if you wanted
Okay.
to come out now, I'm sure
You know when food's really
nobody's
good?
going to stop you.
And it makes you dance.
Oh yeah, I'm a dancer.
And may I say,
This
this dessert is
This is
so
dance
good.
food. This
Thank you.
This is dance worthy food.
And why is it so good? Because
It's
here, meet the
homemade.
And
chef.
it looks great for breakfast, lunch, or dinner,
Everything's
doesn't it?
made
Like
from
that's I can have that right now.
And I love how you guys try to stay local. You try to keep it within Western New
We
York.
try to stay local. That's
Yeah.
one reason we're going to change our menus, more frequently than some places, so we can always take advantage of the most local and the best things that we can get our hands on.
And how long have you been a chef?
I've been a chef for about 25 years.
Okay,
I'm
so he
from
knows
the-
what he's doing.
Where
folks.
are you originally from?
I'm from the Cattaraugus territory of the Seneca Nation.
Oh, so you're a Western New York guy.
I'm local. I went to Lakeshore High.
Hey,
Golden Eagles.
that makes us like you even more. Not only is it great dessert, right? Oh my goodness.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you. We are so excited to have them here. We are going to keep eating, and we will be right back.
Favorite person? Will you come to my house?
Sure.
Oh my gosh. Right? Oh my gosh. This is
It's
for
like camping
breakfast.
out, right?
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. You want to know what's going on? It's Adriana's birthday. Hello.
This is why I'm supposed to have this by myself.
No, wait.
And even though we are so mad at her for being only
So young.
30 and being so young, we still love her. So here we go. We got a cake. What are you going to do for your birthday?
I'm going to have dinner with family.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to the spa right after this. So
You are.
do a facial, nice deep tissue massage, get a nice pedi and a mani.
Now that's the way to turn
Right.
30.
Are
Yeah.
we all jealous? Are we all jealous? And are we invited?
Yes,
So
come
you're
on.
going without us?
Yeah, Judge, you can treat all of us.
I'd be happy to.
I love the way you think. I love it, Adriana. I love it.
It would be my pleasure. Now, everyone knows I'm tone deaf, but
Kim,
I heard.
Are we going to sing happy birthday?
That's
Yes,
what
Kim.
I
Okay, well,
That's what I was
let's get your
thinking.
birthday
Get it
donut
closer.
right in front of you, because you got to blow out your candle and make a wish.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
You ready, Kim?
1, 2, 3.
You can sing too.
You have to sing. Here we go. To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Adriana. Happy birthday to you. Yeah!
We hope you enjoyed being with us today.
My
And
wish
we
is
talked
that
with
we
Paul
stay here
Cambria
forever.
about his great career as an attorney, and we sampled all this delicious food from the Seneca Buffalo Creek Casino. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to meet a gifted puppeteer, and we'll also have a couple of other surprise guests. So be sure to stay with us. If you would like to join the conversation, join us at WBBZ-TV, and we are hoping to see you tomorrow. Have a good day, and thank you, everybody.